What's up guys, it's Rest. In this video I wanted to go over a brand new build that I'm calling Phaseshift Amara. It involves all around using the two anointments where Amara gains increased weapon damage after using Phase Slam and Phase Cast. If you remember some of my older builds, I have dedicated Phase Cast and Phase Slam builds, but with some of the recent changes that came out, I am now combining these two builds together and I'm putting in one, call it the Phaseshift Amara build. This build can get you through anything on Mayhem 10, takedown, slaughter shaft, anything you want it to do, and it is super fun to play. But as always, my builds are located in my Discord channel if you would like to download them. The link to the Discord will be in the description. If you download the build, enjoyed the video, or find it helpful in any way, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and I truly appreciate it. But with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Alright, so I'm actually going to start off talking about the skill tree before I go in depth with all the weapons of this build. So as you see, since I called it the Phaseshift build, we're using Phase Cast, and you would think that we're going to be using Phase Slam, but we're actually going to be running Fracture as our other action skill. This actually got changed with the recent hotfix where you can now proc your Phase Slam anoints. And what is really good about Fracture is that it has a 28-second cooldown just like Phase Cast, so you can go in between these and you're going to have a consistent cooldown no matter what action skill you're using. Now on top of using two action skills, we're also going to have access to all of the action skill elements. So we have Soulfire, then we have Blight Tiger, and then we also have Shock if we take this off, which is really good. So whatever you're getting into, you can change between the action skill and the action skill element, and it's very, very useful. And because of that, we're also going to be taking Infusion right here, so we can convert 40% of our damage to whatever element we're using, which is going to be really good for some of our weapons that don't have elements, and even some that do is going to work better in certain scenarios in the game. And then I'm also going to be using Tempest right here to buff our elemental damage by 30% and our shock damage by 20%, which is going to help out Infusion and all of our other aspects of the build, like our ASE, anoints, and everything like that. We're just getting more damage. Now the 3 points right here in Steady Hands, I kind of just put right here. There were some leftover skill points. If you want to put them anywhere else in the build, you can. I just like putting in Steady Hands to make the handling and accuracy a little bit better. It makes the game a little more fun to play. But now going to the next skill tree, I have 3 points of personal space, so we get up to 36% more damage based on how close we are to an enemy. This is just a solid damage boost. Whatever damage you're doing, you're getting more of that, and it's really, really good for 3 skill points. So now I have 5 points of clarity, which is getting buffed to 7 with our class mod, and this is going to let us have 7% of our missing health generated. And then if we use our action skill, which we've been doing all the time, it's going to double that to 14%, and you have a lot of health generation coming in with this skill. Then 5 points in help pants, so every time I use the action skill, we have 40% more damage reduction, and this also got recently fixed. So now it is consistent every time you use action skill, no matter when. We're always going to have this proc, it's going to reproc, and we're always going to have 40% damage reduction pretty much at all times, on top of us getting this 14% missing health generation. Then if that wasn't enough for survivability, we also have Samsara right here. So every time we hit an enemy with our action skill, we're getting 5% more gun damage per stack, and then 5% of our max health generated per stack. You can stack up to 5 times, so that's 25% gun damage and 25% max health generation. And now remember, this is going to pair really well together, so when we use action skill, we're getting 14% of our missing health generated, plus we have 25% of our max health getting regenerated right here with Samsara. And since it uses something like Fracture, it's really easy to hit 5 people, and the amount of times you get your action skill back, it's also really easy to proc. And it's also the same with Phase Cast too. You can easily get it the amount of how many times you can throw it, and the Phase Cast also goes through enemies, so you can proc it too. Now with using our action skill a lot, we're going to go on Mystical Assault, so we're putting 3 points of Fast Hands to get more reload speed, weapon stop speed, motion speed. We had to get to the bottom, and Do Harm and Violent Tapestry aren't insanely good for this. We're not really focused on action skill damage or status effect chance, but they are going to give us rush stacks, so it's going to help out later on in the build. But now we're putting 5 points of Alacrity, so we get more reload speed when we have rush stacks. Now this is really good because every time we use our action skill, we get even more of a bonus. So this pair with our class mod is going to let us have an insane amount of reload speed, and it is a super good skill to take. Then I had 3 points of Transcend, so every time we use our action skill, we're getting 38% accuracy and 27% more critical hit damage. Again, just another very good skill for Amara. We're going to be using our action skill a lot, and we're going to get a lot of benefits from it. Now I have 2 points of Restless because I also just had to get down to the bottom. You don't really need Restless that much with this build, since we are going to be using the Phase Sucker class mod, but 2 points just to get down to the bottom isn't that big of a deal. But then I have 1 point in Ascendant, so we can buff Soul Sap, and what Soul Sap is going to do is every time we damage him with our action skill, we're also going to get health back, and then obviously that paired with things like Clarity and Samsara, we're going to be healing quite a lot. And 3 points from Rest, so we get 12% more fire rate and 44% more charge time. This is really good because fire rate is obviously just super good on some guns we're going to be using. It's just going to make him ridiculous. And the charge time, since this is a build you can kind of use whatever you want to use, the charge time is very nice to have for melee one weapons if you have any anoints on them. And for 3 points, and you also got to get down to the bottom. It's a solid skill to take. But then I have 3 points in lay bare, so every time my Axial hits an enemy, they are going to get a 25% debuff, so everybody in your team can do more damage. Also, you do more damage as well. So this is really cool for things like Fracture and Phase Cast, because you easily can just hit enemies, and now you're doing more damage. But then I have 3 points of Wrath, so we get 20% more gun damage and 20% more after you pop an axe skill. Again, another after using axe skill, we get more damage. And then finally 1 point Avatar, so we can use axe skill twice for cooldown, and we get 10 more rush stacks. So with all of our rush stack skills, we're getting 25 rush stacks in total. And pair with our class mod, we're just gonna have rush stacks all the time. So just real quick, the synergy for this build, obviously when we use our action skill, we can do it twice with Avatar, which is really good. But when we hit an enemy, we're applying a debuff so we can do more damage. We're getting more damage with Wrath, we're getting more critical hit damage and accuracy right here. We're getting an insane amount of reload speed, we're getting soul sap proc, and that's also going to be buffed with Ascendant, so we're getting health back. Then when our action skill also hits an enemy, we're getting Samsara buffs to give us health regeneration and more gun damage, and also clarity is proc and give us health regeneration. And we're also getting help enhanced for that damage reduction. Just using one action skill does all that, and on top of that, it's going to be proccing all your anointments on your guns. So everything else that we were doing over here is going to get buffed even more with the anointments, which is really, really good. Now, for guns with this build, you can honestly just use whatever you want to. Personal things I like to use, the Caisson right here is a very, very good SMG. It is super fun to use, and I have a Phase Slam anoint on it, and it can just shred through ads. Another thing, like the Monarch right here, this weapon just straight up destroys. And since this is a kinetic weapon, you can, like I said, you can put whatever element you want on it with Infusion, and Tempest is going to buff the elemental damage, and you can just shred things. Like I run this with the takedown and use the corrosive element, and it is disgusting how fast it can shred bosses, especially with the Phase Slam anoint procced on it. Then I have a Maggie right here for Phase Slam as well. Maggie's always a fun gun to use, even with it not scaling, it's still pretty good. And then a Reflux right here. This one has a Phase Cast anoint on it, but I have another one over here with Phase Slam. This one is also really, really good, just for ad clear. It's basically just a better Brainstormer, and if you like the Brainstormer, you're gonna like the Reflux. Now, for shields, personally, you can just kind of run whatever you want to run. I like running a more defensive shield with all the defensive skills we have, just to be a little bit more tanky. So I run the Transformer, and I have 4 Transformer shields with all the different ASC anoints on them for whatever you get yourself into. So now you can not only change all your action skill elements, you can now change all your ASC anoints to whatever element. Plus, same as the grenade, I run the It's Piss just to apply a debuff. Again, you can run whatever you want to. I just like the It's Piss grenade, but with, as you see, all the ASC anoints on them as well. So whatever you get yourself into, you can change everything up, and that is why I'm calling it the Phaseshift Amara. If you want to run, Phase Cast with Incendiary Axial Element, Radiation Shock, you can do that. Or if you take Running Takedown, you want Corrosive Cryo with the Corrosive Axial Element and Fracture, you can do that too, depending on whatever you want to get yourself into. Now, I have a Phase Zerker right here. This is the one I'm including with this build. You can obviously just use whatever Phase Zerker you want to, but if you don't know what the Phase Zerker does, essentially when you pop Axial, you get max Rust stacks, and those Rust stacks are also giving you more weapon damage and more Axial cooldown rate. And this one is also going to be 35% Axial cooldown rate, minus 21% shield recharge delay, and 51% dual weapon critical damage. The dual weapon critical damage is really good for something like the Caisson, and even something like the Sandhawk over here, which I have right here. It's going to really help take down bosses. The Sandhawk right here with the Phase Cast, you can just destroy Grave Ward with ease, no problem. And it is super, super fun. So for the artifact, we're going to be using the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge. This is going to let you stack your damage up. Essentially, you get 1% damage each time you shoot an enemy, and it can stack up to 15 times. When it hits 15, you get 9% more damage, so you get 105% more damage just by shooting an enemy. Now with this one, as you see, we have 12% fire rate and 50% more magazine size. Magazine size is very good for all of these weapons, and the 12% fire rate is going to be really, really good with something like From Rest, because that's going to stack, and it's going to help the Monarch shoot even faster than it already does. And I'm telling you, it literally just shreds things. It is super, super good. Now for all these other guns, I'm not going to go over everything. Just know that all these guns have Phase Slam and Phase Cast anoints, and all of these weapons are already pretty decent as is, but when the update comes out for them to scale everything, these weapons are going to be absurd with this build, especially something like the Maggie. If they scaled the Maggie up to Mayhem 10, it's going to be gross. It already does a lot of damage. Also something like the Nighthawk, it's already pretty good, especially when you use it something like with this build. It is really, really good. And a gun I actually like to use a lot is the no PPU. This thing is actually insanely fun. I know this isn't a old weapon. This is a, Mayhem 10 weapon that came out, but this is a very fun gun if you want to just try to, use this in some mobbing situations. It is super fun and super, super effective. But that is it for all the gear. Now, I will say one more time, obviously, since this is the Phaseshift Amara build, you can switch to anything you want to. So whatever you're going into, swap your ASC elements, swap your action skill elements, whatever you need. If you're running phase cast guns, obviously swap to phase cast. If you're running phase slam guns, obviously swap to fracture. And when you use your action skill, you're also getting all of these buffs like clarity, Samsara, helping hands, laid bare, wrath. Avatar is gonna let you pop your action skill twice, transcend, alacrity. It's crazy the amount of benefits you get from this. And then on top of all that, you also have your neutral skills like infusion, tempest, steady hands, personal space, fast hands. All these are gonna just help buff your neutral play. And you have your rush decks also coming from Do Harm, Valiant Tapestry, and Avatar, which is also buffing your phase Zerker, and everything just synergizes so well. It's so fun. This build is insanely good, and it can destroy Mayhem 10. So that is the Phaseshift Amara build. I really hope you guys enjoy it. As you saw from the gameplay, this thing can just straight up destroy everything in the game. It is super tanky, it is super fun, and I highly recommend it. Now I will mention one thing for survivability to this build. You definitely need to make sure you're hitting the enemies with your axe skill, because you need those Samsara procs to keep your max health up. And speaking of max health, like I said, if you want to take those 3 points out of steady hands and put something in like Root to Rise, you can as well, buff your health even more. But if you already feel like you're tanky enough, definitely just put them in whatever you want to and just have fun with this build. I know personally for me, Mayhem 10, Phase Grass has definitely been the most effective action skill, and I wanted to try to alleviate some of that to make some new fun builds where you don't just have to run Taz Divine and Phase Grass. And I hope this build helped you out a lot if you were starting to get a little tired of Phase Grass. Again, this will work with using either Phase Cast or Phase Slam, specifically Fracture, and you can just use whatever guns you want to, especially when everything gets buffed, and have a blast with it. But like I said in the beginning of the video, this build is located in my Discord channel. If you would like to download it, the link to the Discord is in the description. If you download the build, enjoyed the video, found it helpful in any way, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for all the recent support on the channel. I know Borderlands 3 is kind of in a weird state right now, but things are looking good. The developers have talked about all the issues that we are experiencing, and they have plans on fixing everything. So that is good, and DLC 3 is getting announced soon. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.